So there's many different aspects to cruising. The food, my favourite. The drinks, her favourite. The entertainment, both of our favourites. The locations and lots more. But where will you lay your head? What cabin or stateroom is the best fit for you? Well, if you are asking that question, then here at Planet Cruise we have the answer, particularly in this week's Planet Cruise Weekly. So let's start with the basics. And forgive me if you know this, but maybe some people don't. Your room on a cruise ship is called a cabin, or sometimes a stateroom, which goes all the way back to the Mississippi steamers in America, where they used to have each cabin or room named after a state of the USA.
Oh, I didn't know.
And that's where it came from, stateroom. Bit of useless information anyway. Anyway, for this episode, we're going to call it a cabin because we're from the UK and kind of, I think UK cruisers tend to call them cabins, whereas in the US they tend to be called staterooms. So for any of our friends from over the other side of the pond, forgive us, but we are calling it cabins for this episode. Comment below if you don't like it. Okay. This pretty much is akin to a hotel room. And choosing a cruise ship cabin is fun and can sometimes be challenging because you know what? There are lots of different types or categories, and some cruise lines will give you as many as 20 or more different options per ship.
So we obviously won't be able to go through every single cabin type because there are so many. And we can give you a general idea though of different types. So sometimes they're named something different. You've got inside, interior. You've got outside, which can be known as an ocean view, or a balcony is also a veranda.
Or a room with a view. And before we go into it, don't forget the ding dong done bit, which we do every episode. That's what we need to do really is hit the subscribe button. Okay, that means you can stay up to date with our video footage as new things are released. You kind of get told about it, and the best thing to hit along with the subscribe button is the bell button next to it, so you can receive notifications. So it's really simple. You say ding dong done.
So in terms of cabins, it's helpful to remember that there are mostly only 4 types of cabin categories. Now within those categories you have many different grades as well, but we're going to tell you about the 4 main categories. So the first category we've got is our insides, which is also known as our interiors. Now these are often the smaller sized rooms with no window to the outside.
No?
Nope. But more often than not, these are the best prices, I have to say. Now, with some cruise lines, there is the opportunity as well for a free upgrade, so definitely look out for that one. Also, don't forget you can go up on deck at any time to take in the scenery as you sail.
The second main category is the outside, or sometimes known as the ocean view, where you do get some kind of porthole, some kind of window, and some kind of natural light flowing into the cabin. And these are very often slightly bigger, and of course because of that ocean view you get more of a sense of what time it is and more of a view of what's happening outside as you are sailing or arriving in or leaving a port. Then there's the balcony, and this is a room featuring a veranda or a balcony that allows you to step outside without going up on the public deck.
Yes. Also, you can sit in the privacy of your own balcony space and enjoy a drink in the sun and watch the world go by. This allows you to step outside without going up into the public deck.
And then finally, suites, which everyone wants.
My favourite.
Yeah, they're brilliant. This is great. Basically, a really nice large cabin, often with separate living and sleeping areas, and a wide variety of extra amenities and perks, all the way from baby grand pianos, through to your own personal bar, through to sometimes your own gym equipment. Sometimes they have tables and chairs for you to entertain, along with your butler. I mean, it really can go pretty crazy and pretty special.
Now, for many travellers, the decision on what size cabin to get directly relates to price. Now, who wouldn't want to go for that huge suite if the price was no obstacle? I certainly wouldn't. But yet, that can be tricky to decide whether a balcony is worth the upgrade from a standard outside or which suite to choose. So here are a few size-related considerations to take into account.
So first of all, let's look at outdoor space. Travellers who spend all their time in public areas, on the sun decks, on the lounges, in the restaurants or ashore, may be perfectly happy with a standard sized cabin and no private outdoor space. However, those that love to avoid the crowds and lounge quietly on their own verandas or have private room service meals will want their own balconies. So don't forget to take your itinerary into account. For instance, on a colder weather cruise, you might not be spending too much time outside, so you might not feel the need to spend extra on a balcony cabin if that's the case. Now, having said that, this might contradict everything I've just said, but if you are on an Alaskan cruise, for example, although it might be cold, you might still want to choose a balcony cabin because you're going to get a much better view of the scenery for the privacy of your own cabin. You can literally lay in bed and have the beautiful Alaskan scenery passing by all the time and not have to worry about, battling, getting the proper view out on the open decks when there's a lot of other people out there that all have the inside and don't have that view. So again, it's a case of balancing.
Now, one thing to pay attention to is a unique cabin setup on your ship, as they're not all created equal. Disney's 4 cruise ships, for example, have large standard cabins designed to accommodate families. So even inside cabins may have a sleeping section that can be curtained off from the living area, along with the split bath system. So one bathroom has the shower, tub and sink, the other has the toilet and a sink.
Which, if you're like me and you've got 3 girls, is a great idea because I never ever get a chance to go into my bathroom. While Silver Sea, Regent Seven Seas Cruises and Seabourn all feature all-suite accommodations.
Oh, lovely.
So really nice, generous space, really nice high standard. Norwegian Epic cabins sport the new wave design with curvy walls and separate rooms for showers and toilets, sinks located in the main cabins. So again, very, very different, really good way of looking at space. And as mentioned earlier, cabins at the very front or back of the ship will often have different layouts than the more cookie cutter kind of style cabins that run through the length of the ship, because again, you're dealing with the slopes at the front and the back. I quite like having, I had a really wonderful cabin on Celebrity Eclipse when we were sailing around the fjords with my dad, and it was right at the front and it had it was right at the side, so it was really long and it had this really incredible balcony opening up, so right onto the front of the ship.
Oh, lovely.
And it was really, really cool cabin, but again, it was really unusual. There's only like 2 cabins that were identical on the same deck in either side. And then even when you went up once, it would have been a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller. When you've gone down, it would have been different as well. So there's some really cool, unusual layouts, which you can always request. Once you've had them once, you might want them again.
So families and groups can also take advantage of regular cabins with 3rd or 4th berths found in pull-out sofas or those pull-down bunk beds called Pullmans. If you're going to squeeze your whole troop into one cabin, make sure the space is big enough to accommodate the lot of you, because of course you're going to want your belongings there as well.
So as Kim just said, cruise lines are really trying to make family cruising and multi-generational cruising really accessible for people, and one of the best ways of doing that is using interconnecting staterooms or cabins and all the different configurations and way they do that. So basically you can book 2 cabins of the same type with an interior door connecting the 2, and in some cases you can even open the divider between the 2 balconies, which gives you one mega long balcony, which is really cool. So again, really creative ideas to create more space for family groups or groups of friends to cruise together. And it's worth noting that these do sell really, really quickly. So if you want to bag yourself one of those, get in quick when you speak to your Planet Cruise expert.
So cruising is actually one of the best options for the solo traveller. In recent years, many cruise lines have built ships with dedicated single cabins and offer lower fares or a no single occupancy supplement as that alternative. So organised activities and single cruiser mixes will make the perfect opportunity to socialise and make new friends, whilst quiet areas, single occupancy cabins and spas make for the perfect indulgent break. Sightseeing, days at sea and a plethora of onboard entertainment ensure not only great value for money, but quality time spent as an independent traveller as well.
And while we're talking about solo cabins, one of the things that, or a term that you may well have heard, or you certainly will hear once you start doing more cruising, if you are cruising independently, is the idea of a single person supplement. this is really simply basically the fact that, fair enough, most modern cruise ships have specific cabins built for one person. And even if it's an older ship, they're getting those put in when they go in for a refit or a refurb. However, a lot of the older tonnage that's in the cruise industry still cope with having solo travellers coming on board by letting them stay in a cabin that's designed for 2 or 3 people, and basically charging them for the extra that they're potentially losing by only having one person staying in that cabin. Now, in the worst case scenario, that means you're getting double charged because you're paying for yourself and for that person who's not actually there. However, that really doesn't tend to happen anymore because obviously it puts people off, and that's quite a big expense. So it tends to be maybe sometimes 75% extra, or 75% of the full cost plus, or 50%, or sometimes 25%, which is absolutely brilliant. So when you speak to your Planet Cruise expert, check with them and they'll let you know if there's any offers going on at the time on particular sailings or particular ships or just particular lines. Hope that explains it, because it can be a really complicated thing.
Now, suites on most ships are often the first category to sell out, partly because there are fewer of them, but partly because they're often extremely good value for money. For this reason, it's very important to decide early on what kind of suite you would like.
For example, among the most over-the-top are Norwegian Cruise Line's 5,000 plus square foot 3-bedroom garden villa suites on the Jewel class ship. I know, wow, W-O-W. These feature a private terrace with a hot tub, spacious living and dining areas, butler service, plus access to an exclusive deck area.
So other suites may come with dining areas, wet bars, deluxe bathrooms, and my favourite, I've got to have one of these, a walk-in closet.
Ah, yeah, no, I had one of those when I was on working with Cunard as entertainment director.
Oh, nice.
I used to love it. And a bath.
A bath?
A bath, I used to love it, yeah, because that's nice at the end of a long day to soak in a bath. And I'm guessing with your hubby being an entertainment director as well,
Yes.
Princess, he also has a walk-in wardrobe and a bath, am I right?
He does have a little walk-in wardrobe, and I did like that. I have to say, I took up the majority of the wardrobe.
Ha! With all your stuff, I bet he was happy with that.
Of course. He just had like that little section, so. That's on, as you said, Princess, so
Princess.
yes. Now, other things you might get as well, you actually mentioned it earlier, pianos.
Yes.
And as well cabins on multiple levels. Now, on the other end of things, a mini suite found on nearly all ships is often just a bigger version of a standard balcony cabin, sometimes with more delineation between the living and sleeping areas.
Now, if you like a room with a view and you want to really be able to see stuff from your cabin, it's important really to think about the location of your cabin on the ship. Even if you're going for an outside or a balcony, that location really, really affects things. So both the direction your room faces as well as how the ship's structure may get in the way of your view out to sea. Our facing balconies are the ones right at the very back of the ship, and they're pretty much the most prized standard balconies out there. Why is that, you might say? Well, it's because it can make you feel like you're at the end of the world. You get 180-degree views over the stern's wake, which is that lovely ripple of the water as you go out the back. And it's incredible, particularly as you're sailing away from ports of call on a sea day. You feel like you're almost on your own private yacht.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really cool feeling.
You catch that last glimpse.
You do, of the sun,
yeah.
totally.
And the balconies are almost always at least 50% bigger than the standard balcony located along the sides of the ships. They do have a downside though. They are at the very back of the ship and far away from the venues that hold most of the activities.
Which could be a good thing.
Which could be depending on what you want, really, isn't it? So windowed and balcony cabins don't actually always look out onto the sea. So for example, some Royal Caribbean ships have inside view cabins with windows overlooking out onto the interior public areas. So you've got the Oasis class Royal Caribbean ships, for instance. They'll have inward facing cabins with views of Central Park, so the ship's garden area with live greenery as well. You've got the Broadwalk, which is an amusement park themed stretch of the ship with carousels and food stands as well.
Very nice. Always like to look out over the food.
Ben and Jerry's. So these are actually typically sold at the price that falls somewhere between your insides and your outsides. Virtual views are the latest trend actually for inside cabins that wouldn't otherwise have a window. Disney and Royal Caribbean have created magical portholes and virtual balconies by using ship-mounted cameras to play real-time images of the sea and port onto high-definition display screens that are meant to stimulate real cabin windows and actually add views and light onto the interior cabins.
So, Costa started what's now called the Spar Cabin trend, but many mainstream lines have followed suit because obviously a good idea spreads quickly. The concept's really simple. Spa aficionados pay more for cabins decked out with Asian-inspired Zen decor and nice smells that come with extra amenities ranging from fancy shower heads, specialty bath products, fluffy bath robes, yoga mats, and even healthier room service menus. Kind of what fits into this is almost the aqua class that Celebrity do as well, which again has that kind of healthier trend, and this is in a sense an extenuation of that. So some of the extra things you get with a Spar cabin is free access to the Spar restaurants. So I mentioned their Celebrities Aqua Class. There you get access to Blue, which is a very small cover restaurant, really lovely healthy food but incredibly tasty. Or with Costa you get Costa's Ristorante Samsara. Again, you get complimentary passes to the spa pools and the sauna and steam room areas, and you may get free, discounted or priority spa treatments and fitness classes. Now, you don't always have to book a huge suite. On Holland America, several inside cabins have been designated as Spar cabins with all the associated perks. So again, if you've got a budget, you can make it fit with how you want to cruise, be that healthy or be that inside in the buffet all the time. So we've kind of touched on this a couple of times, but exclusive spaces is a big thing at the moment.
Yeah.
And some lines offer gated access suite complexes where some of the most expensive accommodations are arranged around exclusive deck areas. And this was really kind of started with Cunard with the whole idea of the grills. And it's been continued now with other lines really. And you're talking about private pools, whirlpools, fitness centres, sun decks, restaurants and lounges. A more recent example of this is MSC Cruises Yacht Club and Norwegian's Haven.
Now, some ocean view cabins actually have an obstructed or blocked views due to the ship's structural design. Now, anytime you book through us here at Planet Cruise, you will be told if your cabin is obstructed or has blocked views. Now, these can include balconied cabins under the pool deck overhang, which will limit visibility. You've got cabins above or adjacent to lifeboats and forward balconies as well, located close to the bridged wings. But there is an upside to a blocked vista because here you can find some extremely good deals.
Now, if the amount of view you get relative to the amount of money you spend is important to you, look for secret porthole insides or obstructed view outsides. The secret porthole cabins are those sold as inside cabins that actually have a window with a blocked view, and the partially or fully obstructed cabins are sold as outsides, but often at the price of an inside. So again, you know, a little bit of compromise and you can get yourself a real bargain. So hopefully that's made the whole world of cruise ship cabins, which some people find quite confusing, understandably so, a little bit easier. You know, okay, every single company has a slightly different take on it, and that's why speaking to your Planet Cruise expert is really, really recommended. However, we've tried to paint in broad strokes, give you a general idea and general overview. There are some companies where things are a little bit different. There will be some exceptions to the rule. But get in touch and tell us whether this has been helpful. Get in touch and tell us if you think we should have added something in or taken something out. We do love your feedback here at Planet Cruise Weekly. And we love your tips as well. So if you've got any tips that you think we should have added in, please, please do. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, you dream it, we plan it. And we plan it. It kind of sounds like we planet Cruise.
Yeah.
Planet, yeah. Just realised that. Keith and Kim, we'll see you soon. Hi everyone, thanks very much for watching the video. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe below, and remember to click the bell to get those notifications turned on. And if you're looking for more fantastic travel content like this, then click on the videos to the right It will be really, really informative. Or you can click on the Planet logo to the left and go to our website for some really fantastic deals. Thanks for watching.